Hey there, friends. Pastor Jason here with Daily Devotionals. Today we're back in Genesis. We're in chapter 32. We'll do 32 and 33 today. I hope the Lord's blessed you over the weekend. Let us get right to the scripture today. Let's make sure we take a look at how Jacob behaves and how he interacts with his brother Esau as he returns from his uncle Laban's. Chapter 32, verse 1. Jacob went on his way, and God's angels met him. When he saw them, Jacob said, "This is God's camp." And so they called that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, in the country of Edom. He commanded them, "You are to say to my lord Esau, 'This is what your servant Jacob says. I have been staying with Laban and have been delayed until now.'" Understatement. He's been there for 20 years? Delayed? "I have been staying with Laban and have been delayed until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male and female slaves. I have sent this message to inform my lord in order to seek your favor." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau. He is coming to meet you, and he has 400 men with him." Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. He divided the people with him into two camps, along with the flocks, cattle, and camels. He thought if Esau comes to one camp and attacks it, the remaining one can escape. Then Jacob said, "God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, 'Go back to your land and to your family, and I will make you prosper.' I am unworthy of all kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. Indeed, I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two camps. Please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid of him. Otherwise he may come and attack me, the mothers and their children. You have said, 'I will cause you to prosper. I will make your offspring like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted.'" He spent the night there and took part of what he had brought with him as a gift for his brother Esau. 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their youngs, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, 10 male donkeys. He entrusted them to his slaves as separate herds, and then said to them, "Go on ahead of me and leave some distance between the herds." And he told the first one, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Who do you belong to? Where are you going? And whose animals are these ahead of you?' then tell him, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau. And look, he's behind us.'" He also told the second one, the third one, and everyone who was walking behind the animals, saying the same thing to Esau. "When you find him, you are also to say, 'Look, your servant Jacob is right behind us.'" For he thought, "I want to appease Esau with the gift that is going ahead of me. After that, I can face him, and perhaps he will forgive me." So the gift was sent on ahead of him while he remained in the camp that night. During the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female slaves, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream along with all his possessions. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled him until daybreak. When the man saw that he, capital H, could not defeat him, he struck Jacob's hip socket as they wrestled and dislocated his hip. Then he said to Jacob, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. "Jacob," he replied. "Your name will no longer be Jacob. It will be Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he answered, "Why do you ask my name?" And he blessed them there. Jacob then named the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face. He said, and I have been delivered. The sun shone on him as he passed by Penuel, limping because of his hip. That is why, to this day, the Israelites don't eat the thigh muscle that is at the hip socket, because he, capital H, struck Jacob's hip socket at the thigh muscle. Chapter 33. Now Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming toward him with 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female slaves, and he put the female slaves and their children first, Leah and her children next, and then Rachel and Joseph last. He himself went on ahead and bowed to the ground 7 times until he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet him, hugged him, threw his arms around him, and kissed him, and then wept. They wept. When Esau looked up and saw the women and children, he asked, "Who are these with you?" And he answered, "The children God has graciously given your servant." Then the female slaves and their children approached him and bowed down. Leah and her children also approached and bowed down. And then Joseph and Rachel approached and bowed down. So Esau said, "What do you mean by this whole procession I met?" "To find favor with you, my lord," he answered. "I have enough, my brother," Esau replied. "Keep what you have." But Jacob said, "No, please, if I have found favor with you, take this gift from my hand, for indeed I have seen your face, and it's like seeing God's face, since you have accepted me. Please take my present that was brought to you, because God has been gracious to me, and I have everything I need." So Jacob urged him until he accepted. Then Esau said, "Let's move on, and I'll go ahead of you." Jacob replied, "My lord knows that the children are weak, and I have nursing sheep and cattle. If they're driven hard for one day, the whole herd will die. Let my lord go ahead of his servant. I will continue on slowly, at a pace suited to the livestock and the children, until I come to my lord at Seir." Esau said, "Well, let me leave some of my people with you." But he replied, "Why do that? Please indulge me, my lord." That day Esau started on his way back to Seir, but Jacob went on to Succoth. He built a house for himself and stalls for his livestock, and that's why the place was called Succoth. After Jacob came from Padan Aram, he arrived safely at Shechem in the land of Canaan and camped in front of the city. He purchased a section of the field where he had pitched his tent from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 kistas. That's money. He set up an altar there and called it God, the God of Israel. Well, chapter 32 and 33. Interesting to see how Jacob wrestles God, right? And he's just looking for a blessing from him. And he's given a new name. Another one of these folks in the Bible who have multiple names. So when we think about Israel from here on out, remember, it's from this moment, it's from Jacob coming back to the land that was promised to him by God. Now, Jacob's scared of Esau, right? And so he makes this whole procession trying to make sure he eases Esau's ideas and memory of who Jacob was 20 years ago when he wanted to kill him. And seemingly it works, but Jacob is still afraid of Esau, isn't he? He's still afraid of him. He even lies to him and tells him he's going to come to them at Seir, but instead he goes to Succoth, and he goes on to the land of Shechem in Canaan and makes a tent there. When we think about the Lord, it's interesting to me too that as Jacob has just wrestled with God and has seen him face to face, and he was spared, right? He at least, I'm glad the word comments that he was spared because he saw God face to face, that kind of visage would blow us away. And here we see Jacob uses some flattery with his brother Esau and says it's like looking at the face of God. Because you found favor, you've accepted me. So, Jacob's still a scared dude. He hides half of his possessions and his wives and his children. But is the Lord faithful? Yes, the Lord has allowed him to come back from this trip from Laban. Laban hasn't come after him. As a matter of fact, there's now a border between the two of them. And now he's come to Esau, who wanted to, the last he knew, 20 years ago, Esau wanted to kill him. And he's still scared of him. But he gets through this encounter with 400 of Esau's soldiers. And seemingly Esau wants to make friends, but maybe not. When we are worried, when we are afraid, when we have a situation happening, we need to count on the Lord's faithfulness, keep our wits about us, and use what the Lord has given us as a way to show how great he is. And I hope that when we wrestle with God, remember, he's named Israel because he was wrestled with both God and man. And he has persevered, right? He's wrestled with God and man, and he has prevailed. That's what the word says. He's prevailed. And when we might wrestle with men and the things that happen around us, and sometimes we might be inclined to wrestle with God over these things mentally, emotionally. We wrestle with the Lord. May we seek to prevail, not in self-righteousness, but because we want to be blessed by him and receive his blessing, his righteousness in our lives and in our situation. May that be the way we prevail, that we hold on to the Lord long enough and he blesses us. With that, I hope that you've been blessed this morning. I hope you're going to have a great week. I hope you're going to be a blessing to those around you. And I'll see you tomorrow as we continue in Genesis. See you later.